Hello, my lovely Algebra 2 students. So these are the properties for rational exponents. We had already talked today about the fact that when you have a fraction for an exponent, that's the same thing as the root. Okay, same thing as the radical. What I want to remind you of is that that number goes on the bottom, so that's always your root or your radical. The number on top of the fraction this time usually is a 1, but now we're actually putting a number there. That's the power that corresponds to it. You can write the fraction either like that or like this. So if you notice, the first time the exponent's on the inside, the second time it's on the outside. Okay, the second option is better because when we evaluate those, it's going to be a lot easier if it's on the outside. Okay, and I'll show you an example of what this looks like in a second. The other scenario, which is what we're already used to, is if you have a negative fraction, remember you just bring it to the bottom and it's the same thing. So this would be the same thing as 1 over the nth root of a. Okay, remember if you have a negative exponent, you bring it down to turn it positive. Same thing if you have a negative fraction, but this time it has that m part. Again, you bring it down, and then you can rewrite it. So a scenario for that would be like 2 to the negative 2/3. Okay, so that would be 1 over 2 to the 2/3. And then you can rewrite that. Remember, this is your radical. This is your power. So it would be 1 over the cube root of 2 squared. Okay, or you can rewrite it as 1 over the cube root of 2, and then the whole thing is squared. So notice that's just the placement. This scenario is usually better when you evaluate, but we're just rewriting them. Okay, flip it over. Okay, so my scenario for the back side was when you have 125 to the negative 2/3, again, bring it under the fraction to make that exponent positive. Again, this is your radical, this is your power. So how I rewrote it as the cube root of 125 squared. The reason I do that is because I know the cube root of 125 is 5. Think of a number times itself 3 times, and that is 5. That gives you 125. Don't lose the squared though, carry it over, and then 5 squared is 25. So you have 1 over 25. I'm going to do the next one with you, and then I'm going to have you try number 3. So 625, again, you don't have to put it under the radical or under the fraction because it's not a negative exponent, but you do want to rewrite it as, again, 4 is your radical, so it's the 4th root of 625, and then it's still raised to the 3rd power. Okay, and then take a second to think about what number times itself 4 times gives you 625. So take a second to think about that. That number then goes in the parentheses and then you cube it. Okay, so the 4th root of 625 is 5, because 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125, times 5 again is 625. And then we do 5 to the 3rd power, which is 125. Okay, so take a second, pause the video. I want you to try number 3. And then after you unpause the video, I will have the work and answer up. Okay, so hopefully you got 8 as your answer. Okay, because you want to rewrite this as the 4th root of 16. Remember, the 4 is the number that goes in the radical, and then you still have it to the 3rd power. So the 4th root of 16 is 2. And then it's still raised to the 3rd, which is then 8. Okay, the last 2, you can actually just put those in your calculator as is, or you can do what we did in class and use that idea of changing them over to radicals. So if you want to, in this case, you can actually use the power first. So this is a scenario where I would actually do 6 to the 3rd before I took the 4th root. Again, you guys can put that whole thing right into your calculator as long as you use parentheses on the exponent part. Or you can do 6 to the 3rd, which is 216, and then do the 4th root of that in your calculator. So remember, if you wanted to do this option to rewrite it, you'd hit the 4, go to Math, go all the way down to where it has the x root of the radical, which is 5, and then you type in 216, and you get 3.83. So you should get the same thing if you just did the exponent. Okay, same thing with this one. I would do 1 over the 5th root of 8, because in this case our power is 1, so you don't even need to write that. So I would do the 5th root of 8, so I'd go to math again after I hit 5. The 5th root of 8 is 1.52, but I'm doing 1 divided by that. So I end up with 0.66 if I'm rounding to 2 decimal places. Okay? If you have any questions, I will take them tomorrow. So feel free to let me know what questions you have tomorrow. We're just going to practice tomorrow too, so please let me know where, if you were stuck, where you got stuck. Okay? Have a great rest of your day or night, depending on when you're watching this, and I will see you tomorrow.